Don't get me wrong, my Garmin Venue is an incredible piece of tech. It tracks my runs, my sleep, pretty much my whole life. But let's be real, this standard silicone band it came with, it just wasn't cutting it. It screams gym time, not getting things done. It's functional, sure, but it looks and feels, well, cheap. So I decided it was time for a major style upgrade. I turned this into this, and all it took was some scrap leather, a few basic tools and a bit of patience. And the best part, I did it by recycling the original hardware, which means it costs almost nothing and it fits the watch perfectly. Today I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, so you can transform your own smartwatch from boring to brilliant. So before we start cutting and stitching, let's talk about the why. The problem with most smartwatches isn't the amazing tech packed inside. It's the generic one-size-fits-all strap they slap on it. It's a solution that completely ignores personal style. My goal was to make something that looked 100 times more expensive, something with a character and something totally unique, a strap that will get a beautiful patina and tell a story over time. So the first step is to free your watch from its silicone prison. Time for a little surgery. Most Garmins, like this Venue, use a standard quick release system. Flip it over and you'll see a tiny lever on the pin. Just use your fingernail or a flathead screwdriver to slide that lever, compress the spring bar and the strap pops right off. As easy as that. Now, whatever you do, don't throw away that old strap. We're about to go on a little treasure hunt. Tucked inside the silicone ends are the spring bars and of course the buckle. For this project, hardware is pure gold. Reusing it is the secret hack that gives us a perfect secure fit without buying anything new. Gently work the silicone away from the pins and the buckle, clean them up and set them aside. They're the foundation for our whole build. You might be thinking you need a whole leather workshop for this, but you really don't. You can get started with a very basic set of tools. You can find affordable starter kits online for around 20 bucks. First up, the star of the show, the leather. You don't need a giant hide. A small piece of scrap leather is perfect. I am using a piece of goat leather that is about 1 mm thick. Goat leather is prized for its softness and fine grain, but it's also remarkably durable, making it a great choice for watch straps. For tools, you will need a sharp knife, either a specific leather knife or just a simple box cutter, and a ruler for straight cuts. A set of wing dividers will be your best friend for marking perfectly straight parallel lines. To make the holes for our stitches, we'll be using a pricking iron, plus an awl. And you will also want an edge beveler to round off the edges for that professional look. And a piece of canvas or a burnishing wood for burnishing. And finally, 2 leather stitching needles and some thread, ideally waxed. The wax is key. It protects the thread and helps lock your stitches tight. And of course, we've got our salvaged pins and the buckle, ready for a new life. Alright, with that out of the way, let the real work begin. Precision is everything here, so take your time. First, you have to get your measurements right. The original Garmin Venue has a 20 mm width, so the ends of our strap need to be exactly 20 mm to fit snugly. Coincidentally, my ruler happens to be exactly 20 mm wide as well, so I have a little less measuring to do. Next, you will decide on length. A good starting point is to measure your old strap or your wrist. A total length between 150 and 220 mm works for most people. The key here is to cut each piece of leather twice as long as you need. We are going to fold it over on itself. This doubles the thickness for a more substantial feel and, more importantly, creates a super secure loop for the pins and the buckle. I'm going for a classic look, so it will be mostly 20 mm wide and then have a pointed end. And here's a little pro tip. Don't try cutting your pointed end just now. Getting it perfectly symmetrical on both ends is just not going to work, or it's going to be very difficult. It's much easier to just wait until both ends are glued together and then cutting your pointed end. Trust me, this will make your life so much easier. And now another pro tip. Before we fold anything, we need to cut a small access hole where the spring bar lever will be. This will allow us to still use the quick release function of the pins once they are encased in leather. This is also the time when I punch the hole for the buckle tang. I simply mark the middle of my strap and measure where the buckle will roughly be. I then set my hole punch to be a little larger than the pin of the buckle and punch 2 holes, each about 10 mm away from where the buckle will be. Then I cut away the leather between them, giving me a nice rounded gap, long and wide enough for the buckle pin to move freely. I will also bevel the edges now. Beveling or rounding off the hard corners must be done before dyeing to ensure a clean finish and avoid any undyed corners. With that done, it is time to assemble. I will apply a thin layer of leather cement on the flesh side of my straps. I am folding the leather pieces in half, inserting the pins and the buckle into the looped ends. Once the glue is dry, I will mark and punch the holes for our buckle pin. In my case, I know I will only use those 3 holes, so I only punch those. And now is also the perfect time to cut our pointed end. Now take your wing dividers, set to about 3 mm, and use them to mark where your stitching line will go. It is time to punch our stitching holes. Okay, this is where we add the color and the backbone of the strap. I am going for a two-tone look. For the top, I am using Fibing's Pro Dye in black. It's an oil-based dye that gives a really rich, consistent color. For the underside and the edges, I am using Fibing's dye in ox blood for a subtle, classy bit of contrast. I will carefully apply the dye, making sure to get inside the holes we punched for a complete and professional look. After the dye is completely dry, I will condition my strap. I am using a simple mix of coconut oil and beeswax to nourish the leather because the dye dries out the leather a little bit. I then went on a little side quest, because next up we will add stitches. But I don't have a matching thread. I only have this white one and a couple of brown ones. So I thought maybe I could color the thread using the dye. And that's exactly what I did. I took a jar, added some dye, added the thread, letting it soak for a minute or two, and then let it dry and bada bing, bada bang, bada boom, colored thread. It's awesome, isn't it? Man, the things you can do with just a little bit of ingenuity. Next, we are going to saddle stitch this by hand. Why? Because hand-sewn saddle stitch is monumentally stronger than a machine stitch. Also, a leather sewing machine is very expensive and I do not have that kind of money from a little workshop. Each stitch is made with 2 needles passing through the same hole from opposite sides, creating a knot inside the leather. If one thread ever breaks, the other stitches will hold tight. It's the hallmark of quality leather goods. The process is a simple rhythm. Push one needle through, then pass the second needle through the same hole from the other side. Pull both ends tight to lock the stitch. It is what turns this from a craft project into a piece of durable art. So we've come pretty far with our project, and I just now realized that I forgot something very important completely. Because for the end of our strap we will need a little belt to protect it and keep it all in one shape. So that's what I had to do. I roughly measured how long my strap will be, made it about 1 centimeter wide, and then I just repeated all the previous steps. And this is the result. Alright, now back to the main pieces. We want a smooth, sealed and durable edge. First up is burnishing. I will apply some toconol and then rub it vigorously with this wooden burnisher to seal the leather fibers, creating a slick, glossy edge. And for the ultimate durable finish, I am applying a layer of Fibing's Pro Resist. It's a great top coat that adds extra resistance to moisture and dirt, which is exactly what you want for a watch strap. Time to install our new strap. This part is just as simple as taking the old one off. I will take 1/2 of our new strap, slide in one end of the spring pin into the watch lock, then I will use my fingernail and the little access hole we cut to compress the other end and click it into place. Repeat for the other side and it's done! And just like that, we have gone from boring to brilliant. Seriously, this transformation is incredible. This doesn't look like a fitness tracker anymore. It looks and feels like a premium timepiece. The leather will be a little stiff at first, but just after a few days of wear, it's going to soften and mold perfectly to your wrist, developing its own unique patina. And that's what tells the story. It's comfortable, it's strong, and it's a one-of-a-kind piece that I made myself. This whole project is the perfect proof that a little DIY spirit can completely elevate the things we use every day. We took a functional but boring smartwatch and turned it into a custom accessory that shows off personal style. All while recycling the original hardware to keep it cheap and reduce waste. And that feeling of looking down at your wrist, knowing you made that, well, you just can't buy it. If you found this video helpful or inspiring, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel. And if you want more DIY projects like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and activate that notification bell. So now I've got a question for you. What leather and thread combo would you pick for your watch? Drop your dream design in the comments below. I read every single one of them. Thanks for watching, happy crafting, and bye.